open world design has become the dominant format for the single player experience. Games like Breath of the Wild, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Elden Ring have all captured the hearts and minds of players around the world. However, through my own experience, I've come to prefer the more linear, structured style of gameplay of old. I argue that linear design vindicates video games as an art form in a way that open worlds cannot because it emphasizes narrative structure, focus, and progression. Linear games understand that sometimes less is more, distilling player choice into something tighter, more intentional, and ultimately more satisfying. A psychological study by Anna M. Mihon and Jack W. Belm put two groups were asked to choose between products. One group had 6 options, the other 30. The group with more options became overwhelmed, often quitting before deciding, while the group with fewer options made their selections easily and felt more satisfied. I feel that same effect when playing open world games. Faced with endless missions, side quests, and upgrades, players often feel choice paralysis and where to go next. And I know many people, including myself, would often just drop those games entirely. You experience reactance, that resistance to committing to one option because you know that there are countless others that you're missing out on. Linear games, by contrast, give you fewer but more meaningful choices. They ask how you'll solve the problem rather than what's your next problem going to be. In Tears of a Kingdom, for instance, a very open world game, the sheer amount of options and things to do can be just overwhelming. There's so many tasks to take, so much you have to do to level up, and so many ways to trivialize the dungeons with the mechanics. You can skip most of the Fire Temple, most shrines, even most of the open world with just very simple flying materials. You can glide over the map, just trivializing it. While that freedom does sound empowering, it often backfires. I found myself avoiding cheap solutions because they made the game feel hollow and boring, but then resenting my own choice to take the long, sometimes again, boring route, knowing that there's a faster way. Again, I'm feeling reactive towards my own decisions. That constant self-doubt undermines any sense of accomplishment and freedom. Compare this to Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. You don't decide where to go, you simply push forward as Naked Snake or on a defined mission. But within that framework, you can choose how you achieve your objectives. Whether it be through complete stealth, non-lethal takedowns, or just guns blazing. The limited but well-crafted options encourage mastery of the mechanics rather than endless grinding. You improve not by stat boosting, but by getting better at the game through a linear controlled progression. And again, your choice on how you play it affects your progression as well. And ultimately, it's just a lot more cognitively rewarding. Choice and structure also affect how we interpret games as art. Film critic Roger Ebert once claimed video games could never be art because total player choice erases authorial intent. While I disagree with his conclusion, I understand his reasoning. In open world games, narrative focus is often sacrificed for freedom. Players are encouraged to ignore the main story, to wander and grind at materials instead. In Tears of the Kingdom, again, Ganondorf is wreaking havoc and Zelda is missing. Yet the game incentivizes you to spend hours upgrading your equipment and chasing side quests. The narrative urgency collapses under the weight of its open-ended freedom. Even the story sequencing suffers. I unlock the game's flashbacks in a random order, which spoils major plot points before I was meant to learn them. The supposed freedom of exploration destroys the story's pacing and emotional impact, as I already knew what happened to Zelda before the game wanted me to, thus it was just asking me to forget. Linear games, by contrast, use structure to enhance storytelling in its conventional, more film-like manner. In Twilight Princess, you must complete dungeons in a set order, but that order serves a purpose. Each dungeon builds on the last, both mechanically and emotionally, especially in the case of Midna's development. Her gradual transformation from sarcastic sidekick to empathetic ally works because of the game's fixed progression and how that is signposted by the dungeons. The same can be said for the progression in character from Snake in Metal Gear, as you understand more about him with each dungeon. And same thing with Silent Hill as well. In these games, the lack of freedom creates artistic coherence. Each level, each boss, each builds upon itself in the last in a deliberate rhythm. The player's experience is shaped intentionally, like scenes in a movie or chapters in a novel. The designers remain storytellers, not just game builders. The open linear design embraces limits. It allows creators to craft meaning, pacing challenges, revelations, and emotional payoffs with precision. Again, you can see in the case of Midna, in the case of Snake, how you understand more of his philosophy of each enemy he takes down. How in Silent Hill 2, you were purposely entrapped in this linear and designed environment where you uncover more and more about the town you passed in a very controlled and paranoid way. It deliberately restricts your freedom for the paranoia and the horror. That is why linear games vindicate video games as art. By narrowing possibilities, it amplifies emotional resonance. It reminds us that structure and limitations aren't constraints, they are the frameworks through which art finds its voice. Open world games promise endless freedom, but too often that freedom becomes overwhelming, diluting the narrative, choice, and emotion. Linear games use their boundaries to create focus, meaning, and progression. That's why I don't feel limited when I'm playing linear games. I feel guided. Thank you.